Welcome to the Pon Con City Monthly Podcast. I'm your host, Andy. Today we're joined with Charles Garin. Garin, I said it correctly. How are you doing today?
Doing good.
Great.
Tired, but good.
So you do a little bit of everything for Blackwell, right?
Yes.
I mean, you work for the city, you work for the paper. What else do you do?
I am a certified librarian at the Blackwell Public Library. I help them a lot with things. I put displays together, the seasonal, rotating displays that we do for Native American Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, St. Patrick's Day. I mean, you name it, there's displays about it there. And I help with their summer, their meal program. They hand out food boxes and everything. So just in general, a lot around Blackwell.
Wow. So just kind of all over town. How did you get started with, let's start with the paper. How did you get started writing?
So I was a mass communications major at NOC, and then it just so happened the summer that I was doing mass communications, there was a job opening at the Blackwell paper. So I took that in 2013, and then 10 years on, I'm still there.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you've been in there for 10 years. How has the newspaper world changed over 10 years because believe me, it's changed a lot since I started 30 years ago. But for you, watching it change rapidly, because now it changes rapidly. So what for you has been the biggest change in the last 10 years?
When I started, we were a twice a week paper. We published Tuesday and Friday, I think it was. And then that became extremely hard to do. There's not, in Blackwell, not that much happening to constitute 2 days a week. So we went to Wednesdays, and Wednesday is manageable. But it's become more of a focus on our Facebook page, which I run that. So a lot of our news comes digitally. We have about as many digital subscribers as we do print subscribers, which is still surprising to me that it balances out. But yeah, a lot of it is through Facebook and through online stories and things like that now, which print media is hard. It's on life support, obviously, but there's, people are still fighting for it. You got Pon Con City Monthly, the local newspapers, and we've seen we used to print out of Arc City, and a lot of the major printing presses have gone out. So I think us and several other regional papers print through Ponca now. So it's been the ones that are hanging on have a pretty good hold on things, but it's definitely changed rapidly in 10 years for sure.
Yes, and I think that something that other people also probably don't know is that not only are the paper printing places closing, but the paper mills themselves are closing. So not only can we not get print, we can't get paper.
Yeah.
It's a very strange world, but like you said, there's this new world of digital where we can create stories on the fly. So I don't know about you, but for me, when I started out, it would take me weeks to write stories because I would totally just stress about every single word and was I getting all my grammar correct?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it takes me minutes.
It's a lot easier, yeah.
And I have to move on. I don't have the time to sit and ponder over everything. It's like the world is moving very quickly.
and I think in some regards, it's printed media is kind of experiencing a vinyl record renaissance.
I agree.
People that read physical books are blown up since the pandemic, especially. And you have I think TikTok to thank for that a lot. But we've seen it a lot even at the library. The pendulum is shifting back slowly to a more old-fashioned media. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I think that people, again, just don't realize how sacred print is and how rare it is. And for something like Pon Con City, sometimes our magazine kind of grows and shifts in stages. So right now we're in kind of our winter stage. And so it's it's 48 pages, but sometimes during the summer months, we get as big as 80 pages. And that's, as you know, digging up stories, local stories, it's a tough gig.
Yeah. It's kind of, summer is our slower time. And then winter is when we have all the, banquets and school functions. But when school gets out, and then everybody just kind of goes on break. And of course we have the 4th of July parade and Memorial Day and summer things here and there.
Right.
But winter and spring for us is the sweet spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your favorite kind of stories to cover?
I, hmm, that's a good question. I like to do features. I like to do a like real narrative sort
Mhm.
of feature. I interviewed the alumni out at Chilocco several years ago, and had like a big three part feature story on that. I
Wow.
like to really get into the history and sort of make it flow like a narrative, like a story. I like to really embellish. I'm very wordy with those. Um, See, I really like feature stories. I like to talk to people. I like to get their stories. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the spirit of being a journalist or a writer is you just want to tell people's stories and do that. And so what about the city? What all do you do for the city?
For Blackwell, I'm their social media manager. So I run their Facebook. I post updates. If there's construction work, if there's water lines breaking, if there's parades. I mean anything and everything I do through the city.
Nice. Nice. So, speaking of telling stories, we're here to sort of tell your story. And one of those stories is about being a cosplayer. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What is
Sure.
that, first of all?
So cosplay is short for costume play, and it's Halloween all the time. It's dressing up as your favorite comic book character, manga, anime, video games. I mean, there's people at the convention we went to that were dressed as like the Burger King, Colonel Sanders, Wendy from Wendy's.
Right?
I mean, anything you can think of, you can cosplay.
Wow, so it's across the board. I mean, there's no rules.
Yes, there's no rules at all.
Fun. How did you get started into that?
So in middle school, I went entered my Japanese anime manga phase, and in the 2000s, that was still a very kind of rare thing to come across stateside. You had people that were into it. The internet was still pretty fledgling, so it wasn't as common as like now you can go to Walmart and there's Naruto hats and Dragon Ball Z shirts and all that stuff. Back then, I found that there was an anime convention in Wichita. So 2006, I was in middle school. It was called Anime Festival Wichita. I bought a Naruto jacket from Hot Topic, the headband, all that stuff. My friend got a headband and one of the like knives that the characters use, and that was my first entry to that. And then being there, even that young, mine was a store bought costume, and seeing these people, even back then, especially when things were harder to come by, seeing the level of craft these people put into things, it was an inspiration, really.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I follow three or four cosplay design. I call them designers. I don't know what they
Yeah.
are. Creators, I guess.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff they use, like I've never even heard of those materials
Oh, me neither.
until they start talking about them, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, what is warble, and how do you?
Everything is foam.
Yeah,
Everything
everything's-
can be made from foam.
And then they use the Dremels and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, who thought of that? Like, where did that all come from?
I put together. I did Venom Snake from Metal Gear Solid 5 back in 2016, and he has a robotic arm that I made out of foam and a glove and some other things. But even that, I just kind of shaped it and taped it together. But seeing people make like full suits of armor and swords and big shoulder pads and everything, and it's it's amazing. I mean, I could never do it. I had a hard enough time making a gauntlet, just a circular shape.
Right.
And these people do incredible things with their material.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about this weekend and what you did and where it was at and all of that jazz.
Okay, yeah. So we went to NakaCon. It was the 20th anniversary of NakaCon in Overland Park, which is right outside of Kansas City. It started as the University of Kansas's anime club back in 2000 and whatever 20 years ago was. What is it? 2005. Yeah.
Right.
So we go there. It's one of the larger conventions in the Midwest, outside of like Texas and then NebraskaCon, which is up in Nebraska. We've been going for a long time, my friends and I. I've recently started going as press through the newspaper. So I cover them. We do like a pre-convention story, and then I go there and cover all the panels and cosplay competitions and anything they have. And it's like
10,000,
15,000 like attendance rate. I mean, it's a really big con.
Wow. And so you started going to that when?
We went in 2012.
2012.
Which was one of the first years that they moved to the Overland Park Convention Center and Sheridan Hotel.
Okay.
So we went in 2012 when it really started popping off.
And so did you start doing cosplay the first time you went? Like, were you in costume the first time, or did you slowly roll into that?
So I had been doing pretty much like I would wear Spider-Man costumes to the one in Wichita. And then for NakaCon, I was dating a girl from Wichita at the time, and we went as she was Princess Zelda, and I was Girahim from the new Legend of Zelda at that time, which was Skyward Sword, and that was a lot of spandex and makeup and wigs and earrings and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So that was my first cosplay for sure, was that year.
Okay. And so from that, you were kind of the bug was bit, and then you just sort of grew into doing more intricate stuff, because the stuff you did for this con was pretty intricate, I thought.
Yeah.
I could never do that.
No, I for sure, that year I went as Girahim for NACA 2012 was the first I really like doing these really complicated costumes. And so from then it was I did Skull Kid from Legend of Zelda a few years ago. A lot of Zelda, really. Metal Gear Solid, I put a bunch of straps and the foam arm together for Snake that one year. I made a xenomorph costume from Alien a few years back out of pool noodles and foam and cardboard, and that was time consuming. And that all culminated, I think, this year with the Gray Fox costume, which was 3D printed and held together with duct tape and hot glue and a prayer.
Did you 3D print it yourself, or did you have it 3D printed?
No, my friend Riker Page, he has a company called Studio 53. He's based out of Stillwater. He does a lot of 3D sculpting and art for commission and stuff. And so I hit him up and I was like, hey, I know you 3D print a lot. He's really into prop weapons and stuff. And I'm like, how would you feel about making a whole suit of armor? And he's like, never done it before. Let's try it. So I went to his house in September or October, and we 3D printed over 50 pieces for Gray Fox. So he would print them. I would take them home to Blackwell, sand them, finish them, do all the fun stuff, go back over there, and then we would experiment with how they would attach, which was a real trial and error process.
And how did you get them? How did you get them to attach?
Hot glue and a lot of elastic bands. We spent a lot of time at Walmart and Hobby Lobby. A lot of time getting real close and personal with all the different pieces around. It was sometimes a painful process, because some of the pieces, the person that these pieces were apparently modeled after, because we downloaded the STL files from Etsy, I think. The person these were modeled after was way taller and bigger than I was. So some parts would be smaller, some parts would be too big. So it was a lot of trial and error. He had to reshape a lot of the pieces in his, the STL program he used. Mm-hmm. And it was a process. Yeah.
Wow. But the love is there for the process, because
yes.
I think that anytime you create art, there is the science of figuring out how to create the art.
Absolutely.
Because some things just don't come together.
No, and I mean, none of these, they didn't come with instructions. So we had to just kind of figure, I think this is a rib piece, or maybe this is the shoulder. This goes under the shoulder pad. And so, I mean, to my friends, God bless them, they are often my costume keepers at conventions. They'll zip me, unzip me, hook me, unhook me. So I mean, in the morning I had to wake up an hour earlier, and they had to put the bra, we called it the bra armor, on. Then they had to slip the shoulders on. Then they had to get the belt and all the everything else.
Yeah,
they always complain, but I think they have fun.
They're your entourage.
Yes, exactly.
They're a very important part of all the cosplayers.
Yes. They're also my pockets. I never wear anything with pockets. And the running joke is that one year I'm going to wear a costume that has actual pockets. But for them, it's like, oh, here's my keys and wallet. And then, oh, let me see that. I need to take a picture of this guy. Yeah. They're very good about that.
Awesome. So do you have a different theme that you do every year, or how do you get your theme, or what inspires the theme every year?
So it's kind of just whatever I'm really into at the time. I love Metal Gear Solid. That's probably my favorite video game franchise of all time. So Gray Fox has been my white whale since, honestly, I was in middle school. I've always wanted to cosplay as him because he's a cyborg ninja. I mean, there's nothing cooler than that.
Right.
And then I think my next big obstacle, I want to do a character from Final Fantasy.
Which one?
I'm contemplating Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy VII, and those characters, the way that they're drawn and designed, is a lot of belts and straps and layers and cloaks and swords and wigs, especially. And I don't really have that much experience with wigs, so that's the next thing I'm looking to tackle.
So we're looking for someone who has wig experience to sort of teach you all about wigs and stuff.
Yes, please.
So, so you've gone both as a spectator and as press. Which is your favorite to go as?
It's really hard when you wear a cosplay and you have that rush of people wanting to take your picture and recognizing you and connecting with fans of the thing you're cosplaying from. So like with my Metal Gear cosplays or Zelda, it's harder to find Metal Gear fans than it is Zelda. Metal Gear is a slightly less popular game. So to find people that thought like, oh my gosh, I love Gray Fox, I love Metal Gear, I love Snake, and then getting to talk to them one-on-one is really cool. But I also I do double duty over the weekend. You know, I'll do the costume for a few hours and then we'll hit the floor with cameras and everything, getting footage. And I think at the end of the day, I prefer being press because I like capturing the candid moments on the floor in the vendor hall or in the hallway, seeing these people embrace each other or just having fun, dancing in the courtyard, doing all this stuff. It's really incredible to capture that.
Yeah. It's fun to see all the different types of people.
Yes.
You know, the parade of people.
Yeah.
Do you compete in any of the contests?
This year was my first year competing. I thought for the 20th anniversary and for how intricate the costume was, I would finally give it a go. So I entered the cosplay contest. I got through you have to get accepted to enter the contest. So NACA does things, every convention does things differently with a contest. For this, you have to submit your cosplay. The judges will tell you if you're allowed to enter, if they deem it like worthy of entering. So Gray Fox was accepted. I had to put together a booklet documenting the whole process of making the costume. Had to put it all in a Google Drive. And then, so I got to compete, and competing in and of itself was an experience. We've watched the cosplay contest before. I never knew how much went in behind the scenes of it. You go in at like 10 a.m. for a pre-judging with the judges, which is daunting because they're all cosplay professionals. There was one judge that they all are previous year's winners. So one was he cosplayed from Bloodborne, which is a game last year, and it was a real amazing costume with leather and like steampunk kind of aesthetic. So he was one of the judges. There was several people, but anyway, so it's a several hour long process to even be in the contest before you even walk on stage.
Wow.
And I didn't place or anything, but it's so amazing because you work real hard on this, and then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, there's other, like I was in the beginner class, and seeing what these people have done, it's just amazing. I'm here in my 3D printed armor, and then you have people that like painstakingly craft every single part of the costume from the ground up. Like something as simple as like shoes or skirts or gloves. I mean, they hand sew it. They do all this incredible stuff. And so just to even be around those people and get to talk to them one-on-one was well worth the day for sure.
What was the biggest thing that you learned for you or for your cosplaying from competing?
I learned that a lot of 90% of costumes on the surface look really incredible. And I felt when I was making Gray Fox, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so tacky. I'm putting all this together with all these hidden straps and tape. And I mean, these are hanging together by a thread. And to see these people with their incredible costumes being like, oh yeah, this is all like bobby pinned under here. Or like this is a hack over here. Seeing how many, they're people too. So seeing that these costumes are, in a sense, like anything else you make at home, you know, they find ways around obvious things.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm, I guess, trying to get at.
Yeah.
So it was cool learning that they were also experimenting. They were also trying. Even the professionals had little switches and hacks in their costumes.
Right. So did you get anything this year that you're going to try and take away and come back next year with some new ideas that maybe you learned?
Yeah, for sure. I think I want to try. I want to try crafting more things, costume wise. So the Vincent Valentine character from Final Fantasy has a like gauntlet thing, and so I want to redo what I did several years ago for Snake, and make a more complicated gauntlet. And I think having the experience sanding and finishing the 3D pieces, now I kind of know what to look forward to in trying to make something really pretty out of foam. Because the Snake arm was very crude, like pasted together. And it lacked the intricacies of how an arm is, you know.
Right. Very cool. So, so you said the other one is in Nebraska. Have you ever been to that? And do you think that you'll go?
So our two, ever since my friends and I have been going, our two white whale conventions have been anything in Oklahoma. We've never been to like an anime convention in Oklahoma, so for whatever reason. We've always been Wichita, Overland Park. And then this year, while we were at NACA, the people from NebraskaCon had a booth set up. They have a really good working relationship. So they were handing out flyers and stuff. And it's like, you know what? Why not? We'll make this. And it's 3 hours away from Overland Park. So it's a 6-hour drive. And I think it was like, you know, we've talked about it long enough. Let's just bite the bullet and finally try something really new for a change.
Yeah. So a road trip may be in the future.
Yeah, I think so. We've got a while to decide.
Very cool. So one of the reasons that we're having this conversation is Pon Con is coming on March 29th, which will be in like 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's going to be at City Central. It's 11 a.m. To 6 p.m. Tickets are $5. Ages 15 and under are free. So have you ever been to what are the local Pon Cons?
I went a few years ago, I think, for the first one that they held, and it was really awesome to see something like that locally. Because before that, we've had to drive hours to get anything like that.
Yeah.
And so to see that there is such a local interest in that was incredible.
Absolutely. And I think this year it is put on, and I'm going to say this name wrong because I'm not cool in any capacity. NACL Comic Cons will be hosting that, hosting the Pon Con this year. And they're new. I understand they're out of Hutchinson, Kansas, I think.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so some of the things they're going to be doing is a robot race, a medallion hunt. They're going to have a Mario Kart tournament and youth contest and adult cosplay. Are you going to enter the cosplay here too?
Man, I would like to, but that costume is a major pain to move around in. I'm not sure I can do another contest in that. It looked gorgeous, but I still have bruises on my upper arms from some of those pieces, moving them around and whatnot. I think I will attend Pon Con just to see all the local talent on display.
Yeah, definitely so. And there should be, because I think they also do like a I've not attended. I'm not cool like that. So I'm kind of new at this. So I think they also do like a short story convention where they do like short fiction and what's when it's a comic book, but it's like a novel. What are those called?
Graphic novel?
Yeah, graphic. I think they do a graphic novel thing. So there's
awesome.
Should be a lot of different things for people to look at. If nobody has ever been to a Comic-Con, what kind of things would you tell them to expect?
I would say going in that you should leave any sense of embarrassment at the door. You should totally embrace it. Be yourself, because this weekends like that, events like that are a real outlet for people to really be themselves, to really, I mean, because they can't go to work wearing their cat ears and like, you know, anime capes and swords and skin suits or whatever. I think it's a real fantastic opportunity to see something you enjoy, to see other people living that, to embrace it. So I think you should prepare to see anything, really.
Yeah. And like you said, it's really open for anybody, and it's open for any creativity that comes, whether you want to do Lord of the Rings or something brand new.
Yeah.
Now, can you make your own stuff? Like, do you have to follow a comic book or a comic thing, or can you make your own? Do you know?
No, I mean, a lot of people do original characters.
Okay.
So like fan fiction is still a huge thing. Fan art, you know, people have OCs, which they're original characters. And we see a lot of that at NakaCon. We see people doing anything they want. I mean, you literally can dress up as whatever you can think of. We had I'm trying to think of one of the costumes we saw this year that was really hilarious. There was a guy dressed up as the Caesar, I guess, from Little Caesars.
Oh wow.
There was really interesting things going on.
I think I saw a picture that you posted that was somebody dressed as Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, her costume looked pretty amazing.
Yes. The video game Marvel Rivals has really taken off. It's a Chinese video game, so there's a lot of that anime aesthetic there, and that fits really well into the convention scene. So, I mean, Marvel is already obviously gigantic, but now you have more of a crossover than ever with the anime crowd. So you see like anime interpretations of superheroes, and that's been really cool.
Wow.
There was like a Native American Spider-Man at NakaCon. So it was a Spider-Man costume, but it was beadwork, and he had a bow and like moccasins and all that stuff. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like that.
Wow.
That was really cool.
I bet that was quite a sight to see.
Yeah. It was awesome.
So now if people want to see or read about your experience, it's going to be in the Blackwell Tribune,
yes.
Correct? And when are those going to run? Like, are they starting this week, or when are they going to run?
It should be next week. I believe is on the story of NakaCon. And then we have my previous stories are also on the journal website. We just published one where I interviewed the head of press relations for Naka before the convention, and he went into detail on kind of how this gigantic convention gets set up. So there's a lot of like behind the scenes sort of insight into how something like that gets put together.
Was there any part of that interview that you thought was particularly interesting or insightful?
I'll tell you, I was floored when I asked him, because I mean, it's a gigantic, they have 200 plus volunteers, staffers, huge vendor room, like 50 plus vendors. Anyway, I asked him when they get into the convention center / hotel to set everything up. And I was legitimately shocked when he told me that they get in on Wednesday and the convention starts Friday. And I had a very hard time believing that such a huge thing could be put together in, that amount of time.
Yeah, it's I worked briefly for an expo company, and it's amazing to watch because it's kind of like when the doors open, they're like little ants, and they all just run in and do their little thing. And
yeah, I made him repeat it like 3 times, and I was like, "What do you mean Wednesday? Like last Wednesday?" He's like, "No, we get it Wednesday." But because they've been working on it for so long, 20 years, they have a system. Right. They can get it set up and tear it back down in hours.
Nice. Yes, that is the magic that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think people would probably be amazed to see that, our publications come together fairly quickly. I mean, I don't know how it is over there, but it's a weekly, so you guys got to put it out in a week.
Yeah, it took me a while to get, because in my head, before I started the paper, I was like, oh, it's still like the olden days where, they have the pen of writers and they're all like storyboards and everything. And now it's like, put it in a Google Drive. Right. My boss gets it, lays it out in the paper on InDesign, sent it to the printer. We're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy how that all comes together.
Yes. It's quite, I always say it's like a ballet because the salespeople have to do their job. Mm-hmm. The writers have to do their job. I have to do my job. Yeah. And then somehow it all comes together in a couple of days and we have a magazine. And
yeah.
It's magic. That's how I like to see it.
It truly, yeah. That's a good word for it, yeah.
It's magic. Yeah, so, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming in and talking with me today. I hope you had fun. Next week, we're going to be talking with Relo Adams and all about his trauma or his article is about trauma and his mental health minute. So be sure to listen in for that.